Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here for this news conference. Joining me up at the podium this morning is Police Department Chief Michonne Morrow, Lincoln City Councilmember Tom Beckius, and Lincoln City Councilmember Tom Dutton. And we're also joined by Police Department Crime Analysis Manager Jeff Peterson. Public safety is our community's and our administration's top priority, and that's why the city continues to invest in the partnerships, the training, the equipment, the facilities to keep our community members and our public safety professionals safe. And that commitment is paying dividends. Today, we live in one of the safest capital cities in the country, and I am proud of our team at LPD, whose outstanding work keeps our community members safe and secure and protects our high quality of life in Lincoln. This morning, we're here to release LPD's 2024 annual report, which highlights crime data that helps us evaluate public safety successes and challenges in our community. In just a few moments, Chief Morrow will provide more details on this data and how LPD uses this information to guide their work to protect everyone in our community. Before she does, I just want to lift up 3 noteworthy successes that are documented in the report. And the first, after setting a 20-year low in 2023 for Part 1 crime, which includes violent crime fell even further in 2024, setting a new 20-year low. The second is that when Part 1 crimes did occur in 2024, LPD cleared these cases with the highest clearance rate since 2010. And these numbers really are indicative of LPD's success in solving crimes. And then finally, we achieved heightened success with our recruitment efforts. LPD hired 29 officers in 2024, which represents a 26% increase over the number hired in 2023. And I want to congratulate Chief Morrow and her team on those successful efforts. So here to present an in-depth look at the data within the annual report is Chief Morrow.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Mayor. Today, we are very proud to be unveiling the 2024 LPD Annual Report, which includes crime data reviewed by our Crime Analysis Unit, again, Manager Jeff Peterson, and the incredible staff within his office. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Tricia Todd, Marie Matine, and Aaron Fromm, all helping us put this incredible report together. So with the presentation, we have here on the monitor what the front page of the annual report will look like. Now, in my second year as Lincoln Police Chief, I want to reiterate my pride in the work of the officers and all of our professional staff, the work they do every day to uphold the mission and values of our department. It is truly an incredible team effort. And that's also along with partnerships with organizations, businesses, and community members that keep Lincoln safe and a really great place to call home. Really excited to also share that work comes together in this showcase event for us. We are proud to announce that we just received our 11th award from the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. Our agency has been accredited by CALEA since 1989. It is a years-long process that ensures our department is in compliance with the latest research and information driving law enforcement standards nationwide. The Lincoln Police Department employs nearly 500 people. We have an authorized strength of 371 officers serve in a community of nearly 300,000 people. 2024 statistics, we do want to emphasize that all of these numbers are raw data. That means they're not adjusted for the growth in population we've enjoyed over the last 20 years, and that's approximately 50,000 people, expanding our city by over 20%. As I walk through our department's achievements over the last year, we're going to discuss various things. Statistics, starting here with LPD's calls for service. In 2024, our calls increased by just a few hundred, with officers responding to nearly 116,000 calls in Lincoln. As you can see, that number has remained fairly steady since 2022. Nearly 18% of our calls are for disturbances, as that is shown in blue on the pie chart, followed by special service at just more than 10%. And so for us, the special service, those calls include check welfare or motorist assist on the roadways. Accidents make up nearly 8% of calls, and as we'll discuss more detail later, mental health calls, as you can see, make up 3.6% of our total calls for service. Of the tens and thousands of calls our officers respond to every year, only about 7% of them were Part 1 crimes in 2024. This includes violent crimes, along with thefts, auto thefts, burglary, and arson. Again, despite Lincoln's growing population, that increase of 50,000 people in the last 20 years, Part 1 crime is at a new 20-year low, dropping below last year's 20-year low. Part 1 crime is down 10% in 2024 compared to the 5-year average, and down 7% from 2023. That continued downward trend is exactly what we are proud of and what we continue to want to see for our department and our community. Part 1 crime, as you can see, is divided into property crime and violent crime. The data on this chart focuses on property crime. That's, again, all thefts, auto theft, burglary, and arson. The map that you can see is color-coded, and that's like a heat map, where green shows a downward trend and red indicates an increase. So you can visually see the trends in each category as they drop or remain low. Auto thefts, we've talked about them several times this year and last. They did continue to rise in 2024, but to clarify, the number that you see represents both an actual auto theft and attempted auto thefts. And I'll give more specifics about this crime on a future slide, but let's make a point to share and encourage all in our community to take extra precautions to avoid becoming a victim of this specific crime. Part 1 violent crime includes aggravated rape, robbery, and homicide. You can see each category listed individually and the sum of all 4 categories in the far right column. Part 1 violent crime continues to stay below 1,000 incidents citywide, and that's down 3% from the year before, as you can see, as you look at the chart going from red in previous years to green. Lincoln experienced 8 homicides in 2024, the same as in 2023. Each one of those lives lost is an unimaginable and senseless tragedy for the loved ones in our community. And again, we want to honor and acknowledge all of those lives lost. We do remain very thankful that number remains very low in our community, but for our department, for our officers, and our community that we serve, one is always going to be too many. Aggravated assault is up nearly 100 incidents, with 33% of those being domestic related. About 14% of those involved a firearm. Robbery is trending downward. It's down nearly 50% from its peak of 225 in 2005 to 121 in 2024. Clearance rates. This slide illustrates the percentage of all of the cases that we've worked that our officers and investigators were able to clear. We compare the total number of cases against the ones, again, cleared, and you see the percentages here in all of the different categories. Across the board, LPD cleared cases at a higher rate in 2024 in nearly every category, even in categories that traditionally have low clearance rates like auto thefts and larceny from auto. As you can see in the far right column, the clearance rate for violent crimes is almost 54%, up nearly 21% from 2023, and again, the highest rate we've seen since 2010. This truly highlights the outstanding work of our officers, investigators, and professional staff who work together every day to solve crime. Our violent crime clearance rate is up almost 10% year over year, and you'll notice a clearance rate in 2024 on the homicides that reflects a number higher than 100%. To be very clear, what that means is we solved a case from 2023 in 2024. So we were 100% clearance rate of the homicides in 2024. You see the increase because we account that clearance in the year that the clearance occurred, not the year of the actual incident. So that will hopefully provide an explanation of how we can be over 100% on the clearance rate. So speaking of homicides, again, that number remains steady. This map shows where those deaths happen in Lincoln. spread across the city and our three geographic teams. There's four geographic teams. In 2024, we remain just above the 10-year average of 7.2, again, and the 8 homicides. Moving to shootings and shots fired in our community, our crime analysis unit follows the use of firearms in crimes very closely. It's very important information for us to gather. And we saw another drop of nearly 14% across the city in 2024, down to 76 from 112 in 2022 and 88 in 2023. Of those, more than 1 in 5, or 22%, were accidental. 7 were fatal, and 9 led to injuries. This map shows where those 59 intentional shootings, again removing the accidental shootings, occurred across the city, with all 4 of our geographic teams responding to calls regarding shootings and shots fired. I'm going to pivot just for a moment and talk about traffic stops, as that remains a priority for our officers and our community. They remain statistically steady year over year, dropping by just a few hundred. LPD remains committed to traffic enforcement to maintain the safety of our roads for every driver and passenger. In recent years, members of the traffic unit returned to our geographic teams to answer the primary calls for service. But starting in 2025, we are rebuilding our traffic unit, allowing more officers to now specifically focus on traffic violations and correcting driving behavior that risks the safety of our roadways. Those include behaviors such as reckless driving, speeding, distracted driving, and running red lights. Additionally, includes driving under the influence, DUI enforcement. Our officers, including the traffic unit and street patrol, continue to focus on driving under the influence, with arrests up almost 13% in 2024. Grant funding from the Nebraska Department Highway Safety Office allows us to provide overtime for our officers to work outside of their normal shifts to impact driver behavior on the roadways, again, much into the evening hours. These enforcement projects led to many of the DUI arrests in 2024, which we believe prevented crashes caused by impaired drivers and ultimately saving injuries and saving lives. It is imperative for anyone under the influence to make plans for a safe drive home, whether it's having a designated sober driver, calling a taxi or a ride share, or a family member, but please, just don't drive. And for our friends and community members, no one should let someone get behind the wheel if they've been drinking or doing drugs. If you see an impaired driver on the road, we urge you to call law enforcement. That singular call could save a life. Let's focus on auto thefts. One of the few crimes that does continue to trend upward. I do want to just say for a moment, looking into 2025, we are starting now to see a decrease, but we're in 2024, so we are going to say that we still were on an upward trend. Nearly 30% of the cases classified as an auto theft were actually attempts, meaning the vehicle wasn't ultimately stolen. Unfortunately, they're frequently damaged in that process. Of the 678 vehicles actually taken, almost 93% were recovered, which is very good news for the owners in our community. While the numbers of stolen autos left running dropped 20% in 2023 to only 4%, we're still seeing that more than 1 in 5 stolen vehicles had keys left inside, and almost half of them were left unlocked. Despite those numbers, larceny from auto, which is where items are stolen from your vehicle, is down, dropping 12% from 2023 and 30% compared to the 5-year average. We want to note here that in these larceny from auto cases, 65% of the vehicles were left unlocked. And moving on to stolen firearms, also a crime that we track very closely. We find them linked with larceny from auto cases, with nearly half of all the stolen guns in 2024 coming from vehicles, and almost 90% of those vehicles were left unlocked. While cases are up nearly 30%, we want to remind gun owners many of these stolen firearm cases are preventable. Unlocked cars are an open invitation. So please, let's work together, not make it easy. Lock your vehicles, Take your valuables inside, remove your weapons, secure them, and the spare keys. They belong in your home. Park in areas that are well lit, and certainly if you have a garage, in the garage with the door closed. Most of these crimes are preventable with simple actions. A few extra seconds can save you from becoming a victim. Again, we can all work together to take security seriously and reduce these numbers. We're going to turn our attention to mental health calls for service. This has been one of our top priorities. As you're aware, we recently launched our co-responder unit in partnership with Centerpoint. We believe this will make a powerful difference when responding to mental health calls in 2025 and beyond for those in crisis. Last year, we saw a 5% increase in mental health calls compared to 2023, and a 13% increase compared to the 5-year average. Those placed in emergency protective custody decreased by 13% in 2024 compared to the previous 5-year average. We also want to remind the public that the Lincoln Emergency Communication Center partnership with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is still up and running. The partnership empowers our 911 telecommunicators to connect those experiencing a mental health crisis directly to licensed crisis counselors with 988, whether law enforcement services are needed or not. And as we continue to grow, so too should the police department to meet the needs. We are striving to reach our authorized strength of 371 commissioned officers. We are currently hiring, so get your applications in, for our July Academy and have high hopes of meeting this goal. As the mayor said, in 2024, we hired 29 officers, which is 6 more than the year before. Our July 2025 Academy class currently has 7 recruits already committed, and again, the goal is to add recruits as the hiring process continues to fill our summer class. LPD is committed to high standards of character, integrity, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Our applicants must meet rigorous standards, which is why less than 5% of the applications we receive made it to final offer last year. Our goal has been and will continue to be to only hire the best to serve this community and our department. We are really excited to share that we recently refreshed our recruiting website. That's joinlpd.com, and it's shown up here on the screen. And we rebranded our department's logo. It now says, "You belong here." If you or anyone you know is interested in a law enforcement or a 911 career, please share this link with them to learn more about the process and apply. Both LPD and LECC are now continually hiring, so you don't have to wait for a certain time frame to submit your application. You can do it today. A new recruiting video at the top of the homepage highlights the work of our officers, featuring a Southwest team officer, a Southeast team sergeant, an SVU investigator, and a criminal investigator. LPD offers so many benefits, and we are thankful for that and the support that we have of the Morrow administration to provide those to our staff. This includes one of the highest pay scales in Nebraska, a free college education for officers and their dependents, the Training Academy partnership with Southeast Community College, educational pay for degrees, yearly raises, so many specialty positions, 4 promotional ranks, bilingual pay, paid in-house academy for our recruits, and a lot more. We always strive to make sure that we are open to feedback from our community. So one of the mechanisms that we do that with is here on the screen, and that is our quality service audits, or what we call QSAs. These are a survey of those who interact with officers on calls for service. And I want to be very clear, this means people who were potentially victims of a crime, witnesses involved in a traffic accident, and it also includes individuals within our community who receive citations. So we make sure that we query all that we interact with. You can see the overall rating has steadily increased over the last 23 years. Last year, more than 75% of respondents rated officer performance as above average or outstanding, and almost 85% said they usually or always feel safe in their neighborhoods. This data shows what we know to be true about the dedication and professionalism of our officers. And then on the screen as well now, why we're here is we are announcing this 2024 annual report. Here is a snapshot that you can see of the front page. And we invite you to take a closer look at the nearly 70 pages that document the Lincoln Police Department. You can find it under our public-facing homepage under the LPD tab. It features our various units, specialty functions, annual awards, more crime statistics, department headlines, and really share with you what 2024 looked like at LPD. I encourage you to spend time reading about our professional employee, volunteer, field training officer, trainer, and dispatcher of the year recipients. To learn more about every facet of these individuals and what our staff, what our department brings to the table every day. In closing, I want to reiterate the great news shared today. Part 1 crime is a new 20-year low, and Part 1 violent crime is dropping, down below the 20-year average and down more than 25% from 20 years ago, even with our city's population growth. This is a testament to the hard work of everyone at LPD, all who are committed to providing quality services that promote a safe and secure community. Lincoln is an incredible place to call home, and our 2024 crime data reflects that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief, and to everyone at LPD for the role that they've had in making this so, and to the folks who are tracking this data so that we can continue to improve and get even better. Our Lincoln City Council members play a vital role in ensuring there is excellent support for our public safety professionals, who then support the health and safety of all of us. So here to share more about his commitment to public safety and to LPD is Lincoln City Councilmember Tom Beckius. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. As a member of the Lincoln City Council, I stand in support with my council member Tom Duden of the Lincoln Police Department and their unwavering dedication to maintaining public safety in our community. Thank you, Chief. To you, thank you to your team and all staff members of LPD. The release of the 2024 LPD annual report underscores the department's commitment to keeping our community informed by providing valuable insights into our community's crime statistics and trends. I want to express my sincere appreciation again to our entire team at LPD, including Chief Michonne Morrow and her command staff, for their tireless efforts to make Lincoln one of the safest capital cities in the nation. Their dedication to serving and protecting our residents is terribly, terribly exciting. And I'm proud to support their work to foster and secure the I am proud to support their work to foster a safe and secure environment for all. The data presented in the annual report reflects the hard work of our law enforcement professionals and the collaborative efforts of our community members and local organizations. Together, we continue to make strides in reducing violent crime and ensuring the safety and security of everyone who calls Lincoln home. Thank you.
Thank you both for continuing to support the budget of LPD, because doing this excellent work has a cost, and when we invest in this excellent work, we receive those dividends that we've been talking about today. And this data in this report tells that clear story. So by working together with our community members, our team at LPD does continue to make Lincoln one of the safest and healthiest capital cities in the country. We're really proud to share this information with all of you. And again, just want to reiterate the Chief's call to action. We all have a part in making this community safe. There are actions you can take to prevent yourself from being a victim. And so we invite that conversation and dialogue so we can continue to be a safe and healthy city. And with that, we'd be happy to open this up for questions from the media.
Hi. A lot of times we hear from people that crime is getting worse or Lincoln may feel unsafe, but we see the data is showing otherwise. Could you speak to why people might feel that way and what you would say to people who may be worried?
Sure. Yeah. I think that's a great question, and I appreciate you asking that. And what I believe that tells us is the engagement level of our community, of how much they truly care about their neighborhoods, about the city, the people that live here and call Lincoln home. So while it's a perception, they experience it, they feel it, and we have a response to it. we do see through the data that the crime is decreasing, but that doesn't mean our work is done, because we do recognize and understand that our community members have a very high expectation because they care. And that's what makes Lincoln such an incredible city to live in.
Chief, you inherited a number of allegations about the workplace. Can you talk at all about what the current workplace is as you see it 2 years in as chief?
Yeah, we are 2 years in, and I guess what I want to highlight, because I think we really can use it to speak to today and the data that we show, and that is the collectiveness. That is the changes that we've made within our organization to make sure that all of our staff, officers and professional staff, have the ability to provide us feedback, to help point out blind spots, to make suggestions for potential changes. And all of that, we've been very successful at implementing. And when we can do that as a collective team, it reaps dividends, and how we feel, how we experience our work, and then what that looks like of how we show up in our community. So for example, the clearance rates, they are very high right now, and that is because of the incredible work that has been done. And I won't stand up here and tell you it's because of my incredible work. We made some pretty significant changes and commitments to some additional specialized positions. That affords additional opportunities for those serving within our department, and then opportunities to close cases, opportunity to take some of the investigative elements off of the street team so they can engage in interacting with the community and other types of law enforcement activities they enjoy. So rebalancing. So we brought back to the teams 4 team investigators. And this year, we have also added 2 more investigators to our criminal investigative division. We have 2 more that will be joining here in a couple months. We have added into our narcotics and gang unit, just as an example of the work that we do. And again, it is collective work, because we are having listening sessions. We're understanding the needs of our department, and we are taking steps accordingly.
What area of need is LPD looking to address in this year?
So we have a tendency to build out in 6-month increments at our department, and that is because it's reflective of our hiring cycles. We're hiring right now for the July class, and we know that those officers won't be truly available to us for almost a year. So if we push back, we have officers right now in the FTO program, and then we have recruits in the academy. And again, they become available at 6-month increments. And so we forecast out based on needs and priorities. Again, interactions, feedback from those within our department, and then also engagement with the community. As an example, we talked about bringing the traffic unit back this year, slowly, but additionally, we have forecasted for January of 26, that's when another group of officers will be available to us, to actually further grow our traffic unit by adding a second shift. That helps with the concerns in the latter evening hours and some of the racing, the reckless driving behavior, because traffic is all the time. And historically, for the last several years, our traffic unit has only been a dayside resource. All of our officers engage in traffic enforcement, but this will provide a very specific, focused traffic enforcement on second shift.
So Chief, my question is, what do you say to those that feel like LPD may not be doing enough? There's a lot of people, like you just mentioned, speaking about traffic violations, reckless driving. What would you say to them?
I think that's okay. And that, I think it's okay to keep pushing on us in areas where they see deficiencies. We do it internally as well. And we have blind spots. So it is important to engage our community in a dialogue of what they're experiencing, what they see, what the needs are. Now, to manage expectations, we can't answer all of those and impact all of them every single time. But collectively, we put them together and we try and imagine what resources would look like to impact a large variety of those, like a second shift traffic unit. Additionally, in January 26, our goal is to add 4 more team investigators. So each of our community-based policing teams would have 2. Again, looking to close more cases, finalize those investigations, which provides closure. It provides justice for the victims that we're serving and accountability for those that committed those violations, with the hope, especially the hope, that if we impact them on a smaller scale, we change their trajectory and we don't see an elevation of the criminal activity they engage in.
You know, Chief, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make a comment, but Chief
You
and Mayor,
are absolutely.
you know, what I'd like to say is that I hope the people that come to Lincoln, that think that they're going to come to Lincoln and victimize our citizens, they better read this report, because they're going to come here and get caught, and they're going to get prosecuted. And I think that's important for the citizens of Lincoln as well. We've got a great law enforcement agency here, and the citizens of Lincoln should be very proud of the enforcement and efforts of Lincoln Police and Chief Morrow. She's been just wonderful. She's improved the morale among the officers and the citizens' engagement that we have, the social media work that is done by our public information person. And so LPD has just done a wonderful job. And I hope the people that want to come to Lincoln and steal cars and break into cars and shoot their guns off, I hope they read this report, because they're going to stay in Lincoln, but they're going to be staying in Lincoln in the jails. So thank you very much. Good job, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Duden, and former LPD officer who can speak from experience. Yes.
So Mayor, I have a question for you. What would you want people that are coming to Lincoln, what would you want them to have as like the biggest takeaway from this report?
Well, that Lincoln is a safe and welcoming city. And if you look at these statistics, you heard Chief Morrow talk about how crimes are down, clearance rates are up. Even though we've grown over the last 20 years, this city has grown by the size of Grand Island. You know, we are 50,000 people more. You would expect statistically for our numbers to increase or to stay the same proportion as the rate of population, but they haven't. They've actually come down. So I think it's a tremendous effort over time, through the dedicated work, day in and day out. This doesn't happen overnight. This is training, this is equipment, this is facilities, this is investments in our people and our leadership. So again, all of that combined with collaboration with the public makes a difference. And to the point about sort of what you would tell people about our department, or if they feel like we're not doing enough, one of the really strategic things that LPD does is form these partnerships that help reduce the workload for officers on calls where someone else might be trained in behavioral and mental health much more extensively. We hand that off to Centerpoint, and then LPD can focus on calls that truly require law enforcement. So we are doing our best to create more resources for people that are targeted and match their needs. And that is something that's increasing the capacity of our department too. And I think,
we've heard reports of large amounts of overtime and not enough dispatchers. Is this a concern at all that you guys have been working on?
Absolutely. Historically, this is not a new phenomenon. We have been challenged in staffing the 911 Emergency Communication Center. Truly, it's a nationwide issue, and we continue under the under the leadership of Jessica Lose in the Communication Center to make improvements. And we have a draft of what that looks like, and it's pages upon pages. And we believe that as we are able to implement those changes, that we will see additional improvements. For example, they are now, as we had highlighted, taking applications year-round. That used to just be quarterly when they were going to have a class, and now it's going to be year-round with the goal of cycling multiple classes through the year, perhaps smaller, but multiple, to get more people trained and in the seats. Keeping in mind, being a 911 telecommunicator is a tough job. They are literally plugged in. So their ability to maybe take a walk when they're stressed, like many of us do, get up and get some fresh air, like I get to enjoy after perhaps a long meeting, that's not the environment that they are able to work in. So it's challenging, but they're so important. They are so valuable. And for anyone that's interested in is very good over the phone and with technology. Technology is not my skill set. please consider, we do consider them our first responders. And it is very important for us to continue to find ways to impact the staffing shortage. And so, to be clear on that overtime, it's because you can't leave a position open. So if somebody calls in sick, somebody has to fill that. And that may be somebody doesn't go home from their shift, or we're calling people in because the 911 calls have to be answered. Our cruisers, ambulances, fire trucks have to be dispatched out to be able to serve our community.
I wanted to ask if you had any specific changes to culture or policies in the wake of the harassment allegations.
I think I highlighted those. Again, making sure that we provide opportunities for all within our organization to have a voice. That's just paramount that we do that within a culture to make sure everyone feels seen, heard, valued. And then to take it a step further, we're not doing that just to do that. We're doing that and we're taking that feedback and we are creating changes that they are asking for that have been very well received. Again, providing more specialized position opportunities, more growth opportunities, all from feedback from within our organization.
So really trying to open up more of an open dialogue.
Absolutely. We've had town hall meetings. I will engage anyone at any point in a conversation, even if it's grabbed in the hallway. I go to lineups. We've had just, again, town hall special meetings where anyone can drop in, and I'm there to listen. And quite frequently, there to learn.
When it comes to the numbers, during COVID, violent crime went up. Are we seeing kind of a return to what might be expected, that like to get over that bump, or I don't know if you've talked at all about the COVID effect on these numbers?
I think that I have a small handle of what that trend looks like when we look at COVID numbers, but I'm not the expert on being able to probably answer that in a way that would make perfect sense. That would be Jeff Peterson. And so I'm more than happy to have him come up because I know he's done a ton of looking and research at that specific impact.
So to answer that question, nationally there was a spike in violent crime during COVID, and that coincided with other events that was occurring nationwide. So we are seeing that return back to normal with all violent crime. Now, violent crime typically only accounts for about 10% of our Part 1 crimes. So it's a small fraction of our Part 1 crimes. So for the most part, our Part 1 crimes are decreasing because of the property crimes. I hope that answers your question.
One more question.
On the mental health calls, do co-responders respond to all of those calls, or do you have statistics on how many of those calls have co-responders present?
So we are absolutely at the infancy of what the co-responder response looks like. But to give you kind of a general idea, we want to ensure success, which means we have been very intentional and calculated about getting them out on calls for service. When you look at the large amount of numbers that we see within our community, and we have 2 started, our 3rd one is in training and will soon be available to us, it's too many. They can't go to all of them and the number of hours that they're working each day. And so they are monitoring calls, and if they hear a call for service that they think they would be of value, they can self-dispatch. And additionally, our officers are very excited to have that resource available. And when they are dispatched or they go to a call for service and recognize that the underlying concern at this call that elevated it to a law enforcement response is mental health related, they will ask for the co-responder's response. So again, just in the infancy, and I checked right before coming here because I thought it might be a question asked, and we have 43. They've responded to 43 different calls for service already with our officers. And again, we just really believe that as we continue to recognize the value and the impact, we will engage them more and more once, again, they become comfortable. Didn't want to overwhelm them in the first couple of weeks, so we've done a little bit of a slow roll, but even with that said, their impact has been powerful.
All
right, well, thank you so much for being here for this news conference and to learn more about the 2024 Lincoln Police Department Annual Report, which you can go find online and read all the details. We welcome that. We appreciate the chance to update you on the incredible work of our LPD team and our success as we prioritize public safety. And I want to thank again Chief Morrow and Council Members Tom Duden and Tom Beckius and our crime data unit, including Manager Jeff Peterson, for their excellent work and support.